Welcome back, everybody.
Dynamite intro, my darling. Guys, today we have a bit of a special video for you because the man we're about to watch has been near and dear to our hearts, mostly my wife's heart, for over 2 years now. I got emails about it. I've seen the comments about it because Victor M. Sweeney, the heartthrob mortician, has dropped another video on the Wired YouTube channel. For those of you that don't know, we've done 2 videos on this guy in years past because he went super viral for a brief period of time, and my wife fell in love. It became her internet crush. She is a nurse that worked in the industry for many, many years, so this type of stuff really fascinates her. And Victor's just a handsome dude and he's super interesting, so we're just gonna watch through this video.
I love to hear him speak, and he is very interesting.
Speak.
Also,
love to hear him
excuse me.
speak.
Also, I would have appreciated a heads up that we were doing a Victor Sweeney video because I would have dressed a little more provocatively.
Does Victor Sweeney have these though?
No.
Okay, he's got that nice jawline and those cute little glasses and the vest and the tie. Okay. I'm actually pumped. Let's get into it. By the way, first drink I've had on camera on Lush Life in probably 4 months. Yeah,
I'm having a lemon perfect.
Let's get into it. I hope we can enjoy this together with you guys. Thanks for being here.
I'm Victor M. Sweeney, licensed funeral director, and I'm here today to answer questions from Twitter.
Yes,
this
please.
Is burial support.
Let's go. So the last one he did was about dead body questions.
Why the different shapes of caskets? Typically in the United
right?
States, when we're talking about a receptacle to bury a dead body, we talk about a casket. A casket is rectangular. Oftentimes in other parts of the world, you're going to see what's called a coffin. So a coffin is what we might call
Hold on a second. I always thought coffin and casket were the same thing in my head.
Just listen to him.
But now it makes sense. Coffin's like more vampire-y type of stuff.
Yeah, with that
European
interesting shape.
casket's more rounded. Yeah, interesting. All right.
anthropoid shape, narrower at the top where the head is.
Anthropoid. He's so
Wider at
smart.
the shoulders,
Yeah.
then narrow down
Handsome.
to the feet. Other countries around the world tend to use coffins, and we use the term even colloquially here in the
Thank
United
you.
States.
Okay.
So when
I don't
you
feel
hear
like an
someone
idiot.
talk, can you spread ashes anywhere? Typically, a state does not really have a vested interest on what you do with human cremated remains.
Sure.
So you could scatter them essentially anywhere you like.
Scattering you on the 18th hole at the golf course.
So you just go play 18 whenever you want. I'm just visiting my dead husband. He actually died from a stroke on
And I
this,
have legal rights.
on this hole. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you died
Yeah.
from an aneurysm after smashing your
There's
clubs and it just ruptured.
Gotta
your
be
brain.
certain limitations. Like you're not just gonna go dump the ashes all over an elementary school playground or something while recess is going on.
You can have them made into jewelry. You can buy
Seen
small
that.
keepsake urns. I've heard that you can press them into records. There are all sorts of things
Seen
you
that
can
too.
do with
What?
cremated remains.
press them
because
into
they
a
are
record. You can
Simply
do, like,
pulverized bone dust. Everything that
Carbons,
is
yeah.
organic in
Exactly.
them is gone.
Yeah.
It's not going to feed a tree, as people commonly like to think, but you can do with them mostly whatever you wish. Are funeral pyres and Viking funerals a thing anymore? There is one
Love
place,
that question.
Crestone in Colorado, that does allow a funeral pyre. So that does exist, but you have
Are you
to.
familiar with a
Not
funeral
even
pyre?
a little bit.
A funeral pyre would be like setting up a huge thing that you put the body on and just light it on fire. Like you see in like Game of Thrones, basically.
As far as Viking funerals,
That's the way
this
to
is
go, baby.
kind of a misnomer. You're probably thinking of putting your loved one in a boat with their hands on the pommel of their sword,
Shooting him with
pushing
an
them out
arrow.
into the lake, shooting flaming arrows at it until
Yes.
it goes up in flames. Viking funerals actually weren't like that. They were buried with their sword.
In Hollywood, they
boats
were.
and all
Okay.
sorts of grave goods, but the boat was dragged on land and buried intact. Here's a question.
This guy knows a lot of
Why
He
do people
really
take photos
does.
of the dead
So
in
stop
a casket?
Googling stuff mid-video because he's going to answer.
Yeah, I know. That's one of the reasons we love him so much. He just has the perfect response to everything.
For everything.
It's like, I don't know if they're editing this. He's like, well, let me Google that real quick. And then he delivers the answer. I like to
no.
believe he's just extremely smart
He's a
surrounding.
funeral home director.
You're right. He loves what he does. He loves dead bodies.
Who gets to decide who gets invited to my funeral? The short answer
family.
Family.
is your family. They can decide who will come, and likewise, who is not allowed there.
Is there
Fun
something
fact,
you could-
You do not need an invitation to attend a funeral. You can just show up. Funeral crashing is a thing. There was a gal that I used to know back at one of the funeral homes I worked with. Her first name was Bunny, and Bunny would come to every funeral, regardless of denomination and location, and I am certain she didn't know that many people. She came for those sweet, sweet scalloped potatoes and ham.
Bro, that is so sketchy, man. If you're just going to random people's funerals, your first name is Bunny, like it all is adding up. This is.
He said she just wanted to eat.
I mean, there's other ways to
Bunny
eat than
wanted a
going to
free meal.
funerals, bro. But like, you
wants
could
a
totally get away with
meal.
that. That was a scene from Wedding Crashers back in the day, where like at the end of the movie,
Oh yeah.
Will Ferrell like had moved on from weddings to funeral crashing.
Yes.
Because in his words, grief makes girls horny.
Crazy horny.
My question I had on that though was like, can you have like a will and testament? Can you put something in writing before you die to bar someone from coming to your wedding? I guess your family can
Your
still
wedding,
just veto.
yes.
They could veto it if they want because they're still alive.
Your wedding?
Is from Nate.
Funeral.
So I'm completing my organ donation form. You can literally donate everything, including skin, bones, and tendons. So how do funerals work? Because there will be nothing to put in the box.
Dude, it happens after the funeral, obviously, right? Oh.
No.
Wait, hold on.
Yes, let me just hang on.
I was thinking the wake, like you do the wake, but then before
No.
you bury it in the ground.
They need them shits right away.
Do that. Oh, okay.
As soon as possible after the blood stops perfusing through the body.
So if you agree to be like a full-blown donor of everything, you're kind of waiving your right to maybe have a open
I don't
casket
know,
or whatever.
Maybe you just.
I guess it's
cremated?
just closed casket. Closed casket, put the cremation in or just cremated. Yeah, I guess.
They don't take everything. They'll take the femur, they'll take some of the muscle. They might even skin the whole thing so it looks like one big nasty roast beef. But then they also will provide us
Victor,
with
bro,
a
come
large wooden dowel that's the exact shape of the femur. So
big
we can
Okay.
kind of rebuild the shape of the leg.
Okay, so there's a way.
How do you talk to your children about death? Would love to hear
roast
from
beef
parents who
three-way.
have tackled this tough topic. Probably my best piece of advice for parents when they talk to kids about death is don't say, it's like grandpa fell asleep. I think little
It's the
kids
worst. No.
Yeah.
conflate the two. I would say be honest with children about
Yeah.
death. Tell them the reality that someone is no longer living. Kids typically, I think, have a better handle on death. And really, especially elementary school age children,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
where
they
Jackson's at
want
right
to be
now.
involved when they come to a funeral.
Our kid is extremely curious about death, not in like a creepy way, but just once in a while he'll say, "So I'm not gonna die for a long time, right?" He asked me, because he knew that someone's dog died and went to heaven, and he has said to me, "So is there just heaven after you die?" I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not prepared to answer
Yeah,
this
that'll just be like,
question.
sure, buddy. I'm 38 and I still don't know the answer to that, so.
I just said yes.
Yeah, exactly. What is a green burial?
It could be something like we bury the body without
like
a casket and without a vault
green
straight in the ground. It could cover something like
Casket has
recimation or
a
decomposition.
battery and is
instead
not
of
gas powered.
It could be something like using a wooden casket instead of metal, or even using what they call eco-embalming fluids. So
Christ's
embalming
sake.
fluids made out of methyl alcohols instead of carcinogens like formaldehyde.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if I'm dealing with the burial of somebody and I'm in charge of it, the last thing I'm worried about is how green that is. But that's just me. Maybe some.
Yeah,
it's
there's
a
just
funeral,
so many
bro.
things
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, your casket's not dumping methane into the air, dude. I can't wait for the code. But Leon, actually, there's research that says funerals are the leading cause of climate change. Shut the.
From Caterade, are funeral expenses tax deductible? The short answer to that is no.
And better than that, there's a death tax, and you get taxed when you die on all of the things that you own.
Wait, are you me?
You've never heard of the death tax?
I know.
Oh yeah, like inheritance, everything. Like that shit gets taxed to hell.
This is the worst.
So really, there are professional mourners, people getting hired to cry at funerals?
Deadass.
That does exist in some cultures, and it does exist right here in the United States in some places. Some cultures put a premium on outward expressions showing how much we loved the dead. In Ireland, for instance, they have what are called keeners. So it's a particular type of musical lilting wail. I would kind of like the idea that people can show their emotions. I think that is a very good thing, and maybe it's the case that having those professional mourners kind of move those sorts of emotions forward.
That's clown behavior to me, dude. I get it, but it feels like it's just you're trying to flex like how cool you were by how hard people are mourning at your funeral.
Yeah, no.
And you're hiring people that didn't even know you to just wail and weep.
That's outrageous.
That's such clown behavior. Sorry if that's anyone's traditional customs. I'm all about having the smuggling some booze into the funeral and getting wild.
Oh yeah, and you know that like Betty's on Xanax, so if she takes a sip of that, see you later. And that's just where like the
Betty's passed out in the pew.
emotions get crazy and
Oh yeah, booze at weddings, funerals, that can lead to some familial scuffles.
Why is extreme embalming a thing? Please make it stop. I kind of agree with you. It is wild. For those of you that
Extreme?
don't know what
don't know.
extreme
I don't. Here we
embalming
go.
is, typically that's referring to preparing a body in a lifelike vignette. So if he's a boxer, you have the gentleman propped up in the corner of a
Like a wax
Or
sculpture.
if your cousin is a gamer, we have her in a gamer chair holding an Xbox controller.
Let's go! That's how
well, I know how he's going out.
Let's fucking go on right here.
Let's screenshot it right now.
But my face would be bright red and I'm just mid freak out.
Fist through a wall.
Yeah, it's my arm in the drywall with the controller in my other hand. Extreme embalming is definitely something I never have heard of, and I'm so excited that I now know it's real. And the fact that Victor M. Sweeney used a gamer as his second example after boxer just makes me like him even more.
Why do funeral homes look so creepy? They should have a tropical cabana vibe that would make funerals a lot less drab.
That's wild.
I think the primary reason is oftentimes they're very old establishments, so they've been in a community for a very long time. You might hear the term funeral parlor when funerals move out of a person's home, held in their parlor, and into somebody's business setting where everybody could gather and pay their respects. So when you have the prerequisite of being a parlor, you do tend to have 19th century accoutrements like big drapes and overstuffed chairs, and maybe some of those haunted mansion-esque things that you might think are creepy.
Can I just say, I just love the word accoutrement.
Yeah.
I don't hear it enough. And then to follow it up with big drapes and overstuffed cheeks.
Overstuffed cheeks?
Chairs, sorry. Second glass of tequila, I'm getting a little randy.
Jesus, I better get out of here. It's my cue to go.
Do morticians need to take a mental health and stability examination to get their certificate? And do you have free access to therapy? We do not have to take a mental health and stability exam. I do think something like that would actually be helpful in the future for people in my position. I also do not have free access to therapy. When you work around a great deal of death, you learn to kind of handle death. And I say handle because I've never really actively coped. Being that it's so ever present in my daily life, it's a part of life that I'm really comfortable with. So in the same way you probably don't see OB nurses going through existential crises when babies are born, I'm not going through existential crises when somebody dies. One in, one out, and I'm just here to help serve you guys.
Seems very objective when he talks about it and understands the emotions that the people are going through.
I think his comparison is very
It is. I think there's a part of it where like dealing with the people when they're already dead. So you're not going through the trauma of seeing people die all the time, like maybe like a trauma nurse or like an ER doctor or something.
Yeah.
That to me would be much, much harder to deal with than being the person who's kind of transitioning them into the funeral stage. Not to say it's easy to work with. I want nothing to do with this job. But still, that piece of it, I think
the pressure's off.
Yeah. The pressure to keep them alive is off.
Why are funerals so expensive?
Everything's a scam, dude.
Planning a funeral, there may be
welcome to being alive
sections that a family has to pay for. The first one is professional services. That would include things like setting up the funeral and going to it and bringing a body from the place of death, maybe embalming the body or taking the body to the crematory. Another subsection would be merchandise, things like a casket or an urn, maybe a burial vault. And then the third...
So, it's not gonna be subsidized by like the state or tax dollar. Obviously, like you don't have to pay for these things.
A funeral, yeah.
You can get them cremated. Like the cheapest route, I'm sure, is to get them cremated, put them in an urn and call it. Don't gather people. You're not hiring people out for their time. Like pastors taking time in a church or wherever you're doing. Like this idea that they should be free is crazy. Like just like bringing children into this world is not free. In fact, it's way more expensive than sending people out. I think childbirth should be more subsidized than the ritual that happens after somebody dies. But I get the question.
I know it's a lot. I don't really have a sense of exactly how much it is.
It can be very difficult for families who are really strapped up and want to give a proper send-off.
Right.
And then it's like, how are we going to afford this? Is $10,000, $15,000 to do a modest funeral, whatever it is. So, I mean, I get it, but you know.
Do funeral homes charge extra for plus-size coffins? The answer is yes. Being that there are more materials that go into a plus size or what we call an oversized casket or coffin means the price goes up.
Shaquille O'Neal's coffin's gonna cost a fortune. He'll be able to afford it, however.
Yeah.
Like a 600-700 pound person, they're not gonna fit probably in a normal coffin, right?
No, I mean, you have to buy 2 airplane seats at a certain size.
So you gotta get a special coffin, yeah.
Is wearing black to funerals still a thing, or can I wear any neutral color?
That's an interesting question.
Any color you want. I've had families where they want the funeral to be
sundress.
Celebration. I've had families come wearing all Hawaiian shirts.
Some of the questions have been themed around like, why does it have to be so somber? I agree, honestly. I don't think it should be. I know there's tradition. It's like the black and everyone's wearing black and the widow or whoever it is has the black veil over her face, and it's just everyone has to grieve their own way. I totally get that. You can never really tell someone how to grieve, but I like the idea of like the grieving process having a huge helping of celebration of life.
Right, add a little life into
and I'm not saying, you don't need to like roll up in Hawaiian and like down to like Chameleonaire on a boombox
like
on your shoulder, but like, man, I don't know. But everyone does it different. That's just the way I feel about it. It's just tough no matter what. So it's like, I like the idea of celebrating.
How to write a eulogy? I'm not good with words. I actually had to give the eulogy at my best friend's funeral when he took his own life. And that's an extremely challenging thing. My goal with that was to talk about my friend's life, but then talk about kind of those universal...
This man is extremely good with words, though.
It's very well spoken,
So
I'm sure he was
you're
the
asking
man.
the right and wrong guy.
Yeah, he was...
You need to talk to someone that's not good with words and made it happen. I mean, this guy's gonna put a bomb speech together. Listen to him.
Or honestly, these days you could probably just put it in ChatGPT and it'll come up with something nice for you.
Okay.
I'm just saying, a couple of nice prompts and a language learning model, bomb eulogy. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I think it should come from the heart no matter how good or bad you are with words. I think it's much more important that it be authentic from you than it sound phonetically, grammatically elite. But yeah, that is an option if you're really looking for a cop-out.
So things like unconditional love and what he taught me about patience. Those are all universals that I think we can all understand, and those are really, really good topics for eulogy. The question from, is it a Southern thing to pull over out of respect for the dead for a funeral procession? Or do you all who are elsewhere do it too? It has always confused and irritated me. They're dead. I don't know them. I'm on my lunch break. Move it. It really depends on where you live in the country. Where I grew up in the state of Michigan.
She sounds like a lot of fun, dude. It's just
real treat.
Like, is it that much of an inconvenience?
It was very customary when you saw a hearse go by, you pull over and let them through. Where I live now, that's not usually the
I don't
case.
ever see
In fact,
that,
I've
really.
been in trouble often enough for driving the hearse down the very middle of the road on the dotted yellow line to get people to pull over, only because I have a place to go too, and typically it's a little more time sensitive than your lunch break. You could think of it as a gift you could give to the family of your time. It's usually only a little bit.
That's about as snarky as he gets.
Yeah.
And that was his way of saying, shut up, you
and get out the way.
selfish idiot. Yeah. Like, how hard is it for you to have just 1 ounce of empathy or compassion for someone besides yourself?
Don't know this person. Maybe she's not dealt with any death in her life.
Sure. She's about to, though. Victor gets a hold of her. Why would you have a luncheon for a funeral?
Hashtag doesn't make any sense. There is something really nice about getting together after the fact.
Yeah.
And the work is done.
Yeah, the reception. Of course.
That's a weird question.
Fill our bellies. I think inside all of us, there's this certain caveman aspect. We bury our dead and we put them away for a time. And then we also gather together and eat and drink and make merry. And I found that having that opportunity to gather and to eat and to drink and to share is really, really valuable. And that's all the questions. I hope you learned something.
I've learned quite a bit.
Victor M. Sweeney, ladies and gentlemen. My heartthrob crush, my wife's...
My nerdy crush.
Yeah, my wife's Tom Brady.
No.
Tom Brady, Victor M.
Don't
Sweeney.
get it twisted.
Right under there. No, he's close second.
You could add Leon Lush in between.
Oh, okay, fair enough, fair enough. Last question though, come on, with that, like, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. You go, you do the official stuff, you mourn, it sucks, and then I get to have some delicious food and a cocktail, bro. Like, hello, like, good with the bad here.
Yeah.
Terrible question, but Victor M. Sweeney coming in with the heat as always.
It does feel like, I don't know, every time I've been to a luncheon after a funeral, it does feel like things are kind of lightened up and then people are a bit more relaxed and you're able to chit chat and it feels right.
That's what they say. There's some people that you grew up with that could be friends for most of your life, and then you get to a certain point in your life and you only see them at weddings and funerals. That's how it goes. So there's that silver lining to it in a strange way, and I do think that the families of the deceased want to provide that for the people that came out, like some refreshment, and it's like, thank you for coming to show your support. Here's our way to show our thanks. Like, that makes perfect sense. And
if you're able to do it, great.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We were so thrilled to see the emails and the comments about Victor M. Sweeney, for those of you that have been around for a while. And for those of you that are new, well, now you know who my wife and I's mortician crush is. And we hope he drops another one, because you know we'll be
on it.
All over that. We'll see you soon. Appreciate your time. Peace.